Often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest show under the world of outlaws.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Dre Broadcasting welcomes you tonight as we go side by side with the Roaring Thunder. We are coming to you live from Dover International Speedway for the Dover 125 for round 14 of the Roaring Thunder Racing League Can-Am Series. I'm your commentator, Sean Zulu, and I am joined by producer Dave Everly, who is the producer behind the cameras here tonight. How are you doing tonight, Dave?
Doing pretty good, Sean.
Well, once again tonight we are right here at Dover International after coming from Myrtle Beach, last race we had, and that race was entitled the Medlock's Family Betty Hughes Memorial 200, where one of the drivers here, Josh Medlock, lost his mother-in-law, and they were trying to raise or trying to help raise some funeral costs, so funeral expenses, money to help with that. And that was an amazing race indeed. But going back to that same race right there, we did have Robert Barras bring it home. And moving on to our current point standing so far, that was race 13. This is race 14. And we have Jeremy Horn leading in points, Robert Barras second, Jim Whaley Jr. third, Charles Smith fourth. We have Mark Koshik fifth, Evan Black sixth, Jeff Dotson seventh, Noah Lewis eighth, Joshua Medlock 9th, Paul Cohen 10th, and that does round up the top 10. And right here tonight, they're putting down some extra fast lap time. So far here in the warm-up, we have drivers running all the way from 22-second lap times all the way to 23rd. And that will change the longer they go into the run, because once again, the tires will play quite a key role or somewhat of a factor against these drivers tonight. Well, we have the drivers gridding up. We'll give them a few seconds before going down the list. And looking there in the chat, ladies and gentlemen, let us know if you are there. We will give you a shout out and let us know who you're rooting for tonight. Well, starting first tonight, looks like it's gonna be, yeah, we have Robert Barra starting first, Joshua Jones second, Art Peck third, Jim Whaley Jr. fourth, Mark McFadden fifth, Jeremy Horn sixth, the 21 of Charles Smith seventh, Paul Buzz Cohen eighth, Mark Gomez Kochik ninth, Noah Lewis 10th, and that rounds up the top 10. Jeff Dotson 11th and Rick Mason in the 12th place position. And that does give us the whole entire field tonight. 12 drivers once again being led by the 75 of Robert Barras. And off pit road they go as we speak. And looking in the chat there, we have Melissa Potter. Good to see you there, Melissa. And OSR Network himself, Joe White. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you for watching the Dre Broadcasting Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. If you are new, welcome to the Dre Broadcasting Network. And if you're not new, welcome back to the Dre Broadcasting Network. And we hope that you guys enjoy the show. Entering turn number 3 this time. Behind here, gonna watch out for turn number 4 as soon as the green flag flies. Turn 4, very, very deadly. Pace car dips off Art Peck behind the 75 of Robert Barras. The 76 of Joshua trying to tighten it up on the outside on the 46 of Whaley on his rear end. The green flag is not flying just yet. The green flag does fly. 75 of Barras, no hesitation. It's on the floor. The 76 of Joshua Jones gets to the wall on the outside. No harm done. There's a little bit of paint, or green paint on the wall. And so far we are now green for lap number 1, reserve 125. That 48 of Mark McFadden right now behind the 46, like behind the 76 of Joshua Jones. 48 of McFadden goes high, stays high. 21 of Charles Smith goes around. So does the 14 of Jeremy Horn, pulling on the 46 of Jim Whaley Jr. That 48 of Mark McFadden just probably trying to just take it easy. So far he knows how stressful this track is when it comes to tires. And those tires will be gone here before too long. It will become icy loose. So it's only a matter of time. So right now McFadden trying to play it smart, trying to play it safe, trying to be there for the long run so he can be able to propel Prosper more than everybody else out there. And the 18 of Rick Mason side by side of the 3 of Dotson. They went spot successfully against him. 18 of Rick Mason back down to 11th, and Jeff Dotson in 10th. Further back to the 33 of Mark Gomez Kochik, right behind the 48 of Mark McFadden. These guys preferring to ride, just ride for now. And David, track like this once again, it's a short track. Dover International, 22-second lap time, 22 to 23-second lap time. So with that said, you ride for too long, you're going to lap down in no time.
Yeah, most definitely. But I think what these drivers got to watch out for is Miles the Monster. He is a nasty, nasty machine. He has cleaned a lot of cars at this track. So hopefully he don't get any tonight. But I think these drivers know he's lurking in the background there, Sean.
Absolutely. Trying to not only race themselves, trying to not only beat themselves, but trying to also beat the racetrack. Trying to avoid getting claimed by the racetrack. Yeah, turn number 4, that big bump. Gotta watch out for it. It will mess you up and things will go from good to bad in a hurry, or can go from good to bad in a hurry. As we see 33 of Mark Gomez Kochik almost getting out of it all the way to avoid that wall hugging him. Was able to do that successfully, and looking up in front of him, the 98 of Noah Lewis, right behind the 46 of Jim Whaley Jr. Look in the chat there, we have Melissa Potter rooting for the 98 of Noah Lewis. So Noah does have a fan in the chat, and we let him know during the interviews. And going a little bit up front, the 14 of Jeremy Horn, right behind the 78 of Art Peck. Single file so far, very close to each other, taking different race lines. 78 of Art Peck in the middle to high line, 14 Jeremy Horn, middle to low lane, trying to be fast so far. That's Jeremy Horn. 178 of Art Peck is trying to be conservative. He goes high. The 14 of Horn does get on successfully, and that puts Horn up in 4th place and Peck down to 5th.
Yeah, but up front, Robert Burris, man, he has been out front all night. He has pulled a gap here, about 4/10 over Joshua Jones, who's sitting in 2nd. Charles Smith sitting there in 3rd. Not bad, starting 7th, already up into 3rd. Jeremy Horn started 6th, up into 4th. Art Peck, he started 3rd and dropped a couple positions, but he's running right there in the top 5 as he's actually coming under fire there from the 46 of Jim Whaley Jr.
Yep, Jim Whaley gets around the 78 of Art Peck successfully. That gives him the top 5, or the door to the top 5. He is now holding that key to the top 5 and trying to keep 78 of Art Peck behind or out of the top 5 as long as he possibly can. And last week, or the race before last week, the last race we had with the Roaring Thunder series at Myrtle Beach, we had a very heavy battle up front between Robert Barras and Jim Whaley Jr. And David, safe to say, once these drivers catch each other tonight, it's going to be disaster.
Yeah, I think it should make for good racing. I mean, we got a pretty good run going right here. Lap 12, 125, 114 laps to go. These guys have been running together all season. I mean, this is the second to last race, so they only got one more race to go, which will be at Atlanta next week. So, you know, they're fighting for that championship.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, speaking of that championship, once again, Jeremy Horn is still leading in points, and looking at his stats right now, he already has 1 win this season so far. Robert Barras having his 5th win. He had his 5th win the last race at Myrtle Beach International, and is trying to go for his 6th win right here at Dover International. Looking at Jim Whaley Jr., Jim Whaley is 3rd place in points with 1 win under his belt, with only 10 points behind Robert Barras in the point standings. But both drivers, look at, I mean, Robert Barras is 59 points behind Jeremy Horn, so it's going to be extra difficult to take it away from Jeremy Horn. And it's safe to say Jeremy might already wrapped up the season points, but I'm not sure about the how they have if they have any drop weeks, because that could change things if they did. So it's going to be safe to say once the season ends here with the Roaring Thunder series. By going for the back in the pack, we do have the 33 of Mark Gomez Kochik right behind the 78 of Art Peck, who is side by side with the 98 of Noah Lewis. Oh, they almost make contact. Holy cow, they had to get out of that, out of the gas completely almost to avoid smacking that wall. It's very dangerous, Dave, going double wide on the exit of turn 4.
Yes, there's a big bump there in turn 4. They gotta be careful. They hit that bump around, next thing you know, that back end of that car can come around. So, but these drivers are showing that they're not gonna let Miles the Monster scare them.
Absolutely, race while you can at this point. These guys trying to push it while they have new tires, or while they have some grip in these tires. You know, they had the most grip, you know, the first 5 laps of the race, and at this point, 17 laps in, they might start feeling the effect of the tires going away. And it's only a matter of time once again before it starts becoming icy, loose, icy driving, sideways action, dirt tracking, call it whatever you want to call it, but that is what it's going to be. It looks pretty, but you know, as pretty as it looks, it is bad for your machine. It is bad for you in the long run. It could bite you in the back. But going back up front, Dave, lead change, number 175 of Barras down to 2nd place, 76 Joshua Jones in 1st.
Yeah, look at him go. Now Joshua Jones is starting to pull a little gap there over Robert Burris. Looks like Robert Burris may have just burned his stuff up a little early in the run. Joshua Jones was able to complete the pass, but these guys got to be careful because Charles Smith is not too far behind.
No, he is not, and Charles Smith is just hoping that these two drivers start battling Barras and Jones 1st and 2nd respectively. Well, backwards. Barras is 2nd, and Joshua Jones is currently still in the lead, and 21 of Charles Smith right now does seem to be gaining some time against 75 of Robert Barras. Very nice paint scheme on the 21 of Charles' machine. That is very, very well dressed and does definitely catch your eye. And at the same time, Charles Smith is trying to keep Jeremy Horn behind him as long as he can. They are about 8/10 apart.
Yeah, most definitely. They got to watch because that Jeremy Horn, he has got a pretty good lead in the point standing. So they need to make up as many points on him as they can. So they need to hold them back. But I think he might be just toying with him a little bit here in the early stage of the race.
Oh, absolutely. Going to try and set him up, just pretty much studying. That's what it takes in races like these, long races. Most of the time, you're just pretty much figuring out drivers' strong suits or strongest points and weakest points. Some drivers, for example, like last race we had at Murder Beach, we had Robert Barras, who was fast on the exit of turn number 4, while Whaley was faster on the exit of turn number 2. So it's just pretty much opposite, and these guys just kept benefiting and having disadvantages with every single turn while battling each other. It's going to be exactly the same thing right here, trying to study your opponents, trying to know what your opponent's going to, when your opponent's going to make a mistake, so you can be able to pounce when he's at its weakest. And so far, 21 of Charles Smith under fire from the 14 of Jeremy Horn. Jeremy has caught him, and that motor is now roaring, and Charles Smith is feeling the pressure.
Yeah, he's caught him, so it looks like Jeremy Horn might have just did a little conservation as he is starting to make his move here towards the front.
And also last week, some heavy battles that we had on the track. It was between 3rd and 4th place driver Charles Smith and Joshua Jones. And so far they will be catching up, but they're going back up front. Lead change here again. 75 of Barras taking back the race away from 76 of Joshua Jones down to 2nd.
Yeah, these guys just swapping it out, but I tell you what, if they race too much, that is going to bring Charles Smith and Jeremy Horn up there to them. So they've pulled out a pretty good gap over third and 4th of just a little over a second here. So, but as we see, Jeremy Horn gets around Charles Smith for the 3rd spot. So now he is going to try to track down those top 2 guys.
And Dave for the back in the pack in the 5th place spot. Jim Whaley Jr. right side damage on that machine. I'm not sure where he got the damage from, but if I were to guess, I would guess turn number 4. And because of that, the machine is suffering. It's not rotating as good as it should be rotating, which means less speed compared to everybody else in the turns. That's a very big disadvantage for Jim Whaley Jr. But not to worry, they do have one backup car, one quick repair. So if a caution comes out or if any green flag pit stops kick in and Whaley Jr. feels that his machine is not doing too well. Oh, smoke on the track. It's a barbecue on the apron. 18 of Rick Mason off the track. Heavy smoke. Gonna try and go down pit road this time by. Hopefully he's able to keep those temps in check to avoid hearing a loud boom from that motor. But he should be able to make it, Dave.
Tell you what, I'm a fan of that paint scheme the 18's running right now. Stephen King's It. New movie coming out, and I actually can't wait to see it, Sean.
Absolutely. A great trailer, indeed. A nicely, very well dressed machine indeed on Rick Mason. And great thing, Davey has been finally able to make it down to pit road. So here before too long, he will be rolling out. Dave, this being a short track as it is, 1 mile long, exactly 1 mile long, he most likely will be going 2 to 3 laps down before entering pit road. And going for the back in the pack, the 3 of Jeff Dodson in the 10th place spot. The field is already spread out as so far on lap number 30 with 95 laps remaining here in tonight's race. And Art Peck, Dave, now bumped down to about 9th place. Last time we checked on Peck, he was in the top 5. Just got knocked out of the top 5 by Jim Whaley Jr., but now all the way down to 9th place. So they're not sure if he's just trying to take it easy, or maybe he might be having some difficulty getting around the track, or maybe just being cautious because he knows the track is deadly.
Yeah, well, we're 32 laps in. Not sure what the pit window is going to be, but I have a feeling within the next 10 to 20 laps, we might be seeing a green flag pit stop because these guys are they're showing they can handle the monster.
Absolutely, and with the 50% fuel limit, I believe that's going to give us at least 3 pit stops. So with that said, for my calculations, if the calculations are correct, the pit window is going to be starting, well, the maximum they can go on their tanks will be 41 laps. So yeah, if that's the case, Dave, you were right. Here in the next, I guess less than 10 laps in this case, they should be going down pit road, but I could be wrong. It's a mile track with very big fuel tanks on these machines. So So just might be maybe a little bit above 50 laps, but fingers crossed, we'll find out either way.
Yeah, going back up front though, we are taking a look here at the 14 of Jeremy Horner, our season points leader right now. He is sitting in third place. He is about 2 seconds back from Joshua Jones, who is running in second right behind the 75 of Robert Burse.
And 21 of Charles Smith has dropped back a lot from the last time we last checked on. In the 18 of Rick Mason finally making his appearance off pit road, trying to take some names so far. Get around the 21 of Charles Smith, no harm done. 18 Rick Mason being shown 4 laps down and desperately need Dave for a caution.
Yeah, he's going to need a couple cautions to get back on that lead lap. Right now, the man on the lucky dog position is going to be the 3 of Jeff Dodson. He is currently sitting 1 lap down, back in 10th position.
Absolutely, and Jeff Dodson right now trying to up his pace, trying to avoid going multiple laps down. And yep, 18 of Rick Mason to the inside, no harm done there once again. Dodson 1 lap down, Rick Mason 4 laps down, no harm. He lets him go. And the 3 of Jeff Dodson as well does have some right front damage on the machine, similar to that of the 46 of Jim Whaley Jr. So that as well, that machine does have problems rotating as well. It's not at its best, but behind Jeff Dodson now is 21 of Charles Smith.
Most definitely, but these guys are pros, Sean. They know what they're doing. We're into 38 laps, just 88 laps remaining. I mean, they are taking these laps down in a hurry. They're still running right about high 22s, low 23 second lap times. So, I mean, to be honest, with these lap times, they're going to be done with this race in no time.
Yeah, definitely. And Dave, the 33 of Mark Gotchick, downshifting that sucker, headed down pit road this time by being the second driver on pit road. 98 of Noah Lewis down pit road, 38 laps on their tanks. So maybe I was probably correct on 41 laps being the final final amount of laps they can go on their tanks. If that's the case, everybody should be going down pit road here in the next lap. Going back up front, 76, Joshua Jones gets around the 75 of Robert Barris and takes back the race lead here off the exit of turn 4. Gets crowned as a new race leader this far. 41 laps on their tires. So let's see just how right I was. If they don't go down pit road this time by, I was wrong. Yep, you can scratch that. Looks like the pit window is way past lap 41. My guess being above lap 50, maybe lap 55 through 60, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, most definitely, but I tell you what, I got to give these drivers credit because my experience here at Dover, not very good, Sean. That bump in turn 4 just gets me at just about every race.
Oh, good point, Dave. And also 75 Robert Barris going down pit road. I was going to add on to that, you know, with that said, how tough this track is, Dave, with the exit of turn number 4. And what we've seen from the previous experiences with different leagues, different races, when we're ourselves are on this track, it's very rare to see cars coming out of this track without a scratch on their machines, Dave.
Yeah, most definitely, Sean. So we'll have to wait and see, but they're doing a good job here tonight.
Yeah, going back up around 76 of Joshua Jones as well, going down pit road this time by here on lap number 43 laps on his tank, and 46 of Jim Whaley takes over the race lead as we speak with some with same right front damage he sustained early on in tonight's race. And is it going down pit road this time by? Nope, he is not. He most likely going to try and run the tank dry, going on to 45 laps on his tank.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are way into this race, lap 45, currently being led by the 46 of Jim Whaley Jr., Mark McFadden sitting in second, Art Peck sitting in third, Jeff Thompson up into fourth position, but our top 4 still have to pit.
Speaking of top 4 pitting in, 46 of Whaley will be going down pit road this time by 48 of Mark McFadden is next driver in line. Is it going to stay out? Yes, Mark McFadden stays out and takes over the race, though. Will take over the race lead this time by on lap 46. He has a motor roaring on his outside 75, but Robert Barris gets around him and gets his lap back the hard way. Yep, so far only pitting in, left pitting is 48 of Mark McFadden, 78 of Art Peck, and the 3 of Jeff Dodson. And speaking of Jeff Dodson, Jeff is being shown 17 seconds behind the leader, 48 of Mark McFadden. Speaking of Mark McFadden, McFadden is going down pit road this time by as we speak. 46 of Jim Whaley exiting pit road. Art Peck staying out one more lap, taking over the race lead on lap 47. Yep, Art Peck staying out one more lap now, going on to a 48 laps on his tank. And so far he is now the only driver still needing to pit in. Is that right? Yep, Jeff Dodson is on pit road this time by, so absolutely. Art Peck is the only driver left to pit in.
Yeah, I think he's going to try to push this and run it as dry as he can. Probably a pretty good strategy, so we're going to see how long he can go before he's going to come down pit road, as he's now coming across lap 49 on his tires.
And when you say it's a good strategy, it could be true, could be not so true, because I'm looking at it right now. His lap times are 2 seconds slower than the drivers who have already pitted in. But he is going down pit road this time by, so the longer he was going to stay out, or the longer he stayed out, the more time he lost, and the longer he was going to stay out, the more time he would have lost. And this now finally rounds up or completes the first round of green flag pit stops. Well, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take this time to take our first commercial break of the evening, so you guys can get your first round of popcorn and refreshments, so we can thank our sponsors. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Dre Broadcasting Network as we continue tonight's race, the Dover 125, part of the Roaring Thunder Racing League Series for round number 14. Well, going back to the race, once again, all pit stops were completed before the commercial break. And looking at my pit times right now, the driver who had the fastest pit stop was the 14 of Jeremy Horn, with his pit time being 13.3 seconds. Actually, the same pit stop has the 3 of Jeff Dodson. So Jeff Dodson and Jeremy Horn having the fastest pit stops of the first round of green flag pit stops. But so far, going back to the race, we are being led by 75 of Robert Barris, Jeremy Horn second, Joshua Jones third, Jim Whaley Jr. fourth, and Mark Gomez Kochik in the 5th place spot. So far, rounds up the top 5, and Kochik being the last driver on the lead lap. And 65 laps left here in tonight's race. Here it is, go time for these drivers. With the way the race is going, nobody right now is expecting to have cautions. So with that said, it's go time at this point, because any single mistake you make, you will end up paying the price before too long. You most likely have already paid the price and are in desperate need for a caution, unfortunately. Let's take for example the 18 of Rick Mason, who had some blown motor early on in tonight's race. Went 4 laps down. He was able to get 2 laps back down to 2 laps down in the 10th place spot. So he is trying his best to still gain some positions, and I mean, hopefully the hard way. He is racing some drivers for position, despite being 2 laps down. That's going to be Charles Smith and Jeff Dodson.
Yeah, but look at their lap times, though. Rick Mason, 33 laps since his last pit. Charles Smith, 17. Jeff Dodson, 50.
Yeah, at this point, Dave, the driver with the least number of laps on his tires will be Art Peck. Art Peck going on to now 14 laps on his tires thus far, while everybody else has starting from 17 laps. Up to all the way to like 35 laps, just like you had talked about with the 18 of Rick Mason. When you talked about how 78 of Art Peck's strategy might have been a good strategy, thinking about it now, maybe Dave, you were correct, because if he pushes it now, you know, he will have some time to catch up to the drivers in front of him. At the same time, he is a lap down, so he most likely will be able to get his lap back the hard way, if anything, but then might end up burning his stuff up before going around one more time to get around in the position.
Yeah, most definitely here as we are taking a look at the 98 Noah Lewis running into a spot. Currently 1 lap down. He does have the 18 of Rick Mason right behind him, but not for position, but he is just running strong. But meanwhile, Robert Burris up front is actually right there, right behind Rick Mason. He is currently our leader with Jeremy Horn sitting in second and Joshua Jones running our top 3.
And looking in the chat there from Melissa Potter, Noah said his wheel glitched and he hit the wall. Oh man, that explains his right side damage on that machine there, Melissa. He said he's your brother. That tells your real name in the chat there, so don't call you Melissa. If you don't mind, that is. It's not a problem. And for the back of the pack 21 of Charles Smith, so far in the 10th place spot, he has 78 of Art Peck behind him. But no harm is going to be done there, because Charles is being shown 2 laps down. Art Peck 1 lap down and going back up front. Dave, looking at the gap in between, 2nd place driver Jeremy Horn and 75 Robert Barris, the current leader. Last time I checked on the gap in between these 2 drivers, it was 2.3 seconds. But now it has gone up to 3.0 seconds, 7/10 more than before that. So Barris has finally found 5th gear now, and he's getting up to the, he is leaving these drives in the dust, putting more and more machines a lap down. And looking right behind Jeremy Horn, actually it looks like Jeremy Horn has gained 2/10 back against the 75 of Robert Barris. Looks like the lap traffic is working against Barris, but with the 14 of Jeremy Horn. That's one thing about this, Dave, is that when you're 2nd place behind a leader like this, and you're that close to him, and we have lap traffic in front of him, the good thing about that is that, you know, if the traffic slows him down, you will catch him.
Yeah, you gotta use every advantage you can. I I mean, you're hoping the traffic's going to stop at 75 with Robert Burris, but I'm watching the lap times. It's not really stopping him as Robert Burris is now up to a 3.3 second lead over Jeremy Horn.
Yeah, looks like after Jeremy Horn gained some time, he unfortunately lost the time. Looks like it was just pretty much a chain reaction. When Burris got around the lap car, it slowed down Burris. And when it was Jeremy's turn to get around the lap car, it slowed down Jeremy Horn, and then ended up balancing out again. And so far, the 76 of Joshua Jones being shown 4.1 seconds behind Robert Burris, but that's going to be 1.2 seconds behind the 14 of Jeremy Horn. As we speak, we only have now 4 drivers left on the lead lap. When last time we checked, we had 5 drivers on the lead lap, and last driver on the lead lap this time is the 46 of Jim Whaley Jr. with Mark Gomez-Kochik being the first driver. 1 lap down. Looking at the chat that his name is Chris. Good to meet you, Chris. Nice to meet you. At this point, the leader is now coming up to 75. Robert Burris coming up to 34 laps on his tires this far. So with that said, if he continues the same strategy, yeah, Dave, it's safe to say 1 more pit stop is required. Just 1 more, and they'll be good to make it.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, only 51 laps to go. We did see 1 driver stay out and go 48 laps. So that means just in about 3 laps here, that pit window is going to open because we know they can make it 48 laps. So we should be seeing our second and final green flag pit stop here in a few laps.
Absolutely, and that makes me wonder, is Art Peck going to have the exact same strategy of staying out, running the tank dry, and being the last driver to pit in? Speaking of pit stops, 98, Noah Lewis down pit road for his final pit stop of the evening. Most likely going to use the backup car. Going to check on him right now. Oh, he missed his pit, so I had to back up a little bit. Yep, Noah Lewis gets a brand new machine on a single scratch on that beast, that Budweiser machine. And off pit road he roll. Here before too long, 4 tires, full tank of gas. Oh, looks like Noah Lewis has a pit crew, a crew chief out there. That's going to be Chris in the chat. He said exactly what Noah Lewis just did right there, using his backup car and getting a brand new one. Nicely done there, Chris, and great strategy. Looking in the chat, we have Timothy Petito. Good to see that, Tim. How you doing, man? How you doing? Pit road is getting busier by the lap. 18, Rick Mason going down pit road this time by with 48 laps on his tank for his final pit stop of the evening. This will make things very, very interesting. Still, Mason still in desperate need of a caution. Same with Noah Lewis, Charles Smith. These guys trying to get some laps back so they can be able to be on the same strategy as everybody else, so they can be able to race a position for the lead with everybody else out there. But going back up front, the leader up front, Robert Burris Davis now 4.3 seconds ahead of second place driver Jeremy Horn. And looking at it right now, Jeremy Horn has some bigger problems. 76 of Joshua Jones to his inside, side by side they'll go on the exit of turn 2. They straighten it out back down to single file. But Dave, the more these 2 drivers battle, the more Robert Burris smiles.
Yeah, that's just going to give him room to pull away. He's now 4.5 seconds ahead of Jeremy Horn. I don't think... Question is, does anybody have anything for Robert Burris? I mean... anything could happen, a speeding penalty on pit road. I mean, there is just anything that could happen.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what everybody would like to see right now. Would be some bad luck for Robert Burris to benefit themselves. But seeing how Robert has been driving all race long, I've noticed that he's not even been pushing it, Dave, to try and maintain the lead. He's just been having a Sunday drive, keeping it smooth. And so far it's paying off, but the drivers behind him seem to be pushing it hard. And despite how hard they're pushing, they're still losing time because they're doing it way too hard.
Yeah, and I mean, well, we're coming down to the nitty-gritty. These guys still running 22, 23-second lap times. Well, actually, up into 23, 24s now. But that's still pretty quick here, mile track. 42 laps to go. I mean, you're looking just about another 20 minutes and this race will be over.
Absolutely. And looking at the chat there, Timothy, you're late. Yeah, don't let it happen again. No, I'm just kidding. Better late than never, man. I'm glad you made it. Looking in there, waiting for your Southern 500 tomorrow. All right. Look forward to hearing the results from that. And you had your win, your Bristol win, night race. Congratulations, buddy. Congratulations. And absolutely, Chris, Robert is a fast driver. We saw his first race. Well, our first broadcast with him was last week at Myrtle Beach, and he dominated, ended up winning it. But absolutely. And so far, he is once again second in points, and not too far behind, or not too far ahead of the 46 of Jim Whaley Jr., but 59 seconds. So once again behind, or 59 points behind the leader in points, Jeremy Horn. But so far, we have Jeremy Horn trying his best to catch up to 75 of Robert Bearson, and we have 76 of Joshua Jones peeling off, going down pit road, final pit stop of the evening. Oh no, Joshua Jones misses his pit entrance, Dave. Is he gonna back up? Nope, he goes around one more time. Oh, Dave, that's sad.
Yeah, that's, like I said, hard getting down on pit road. That's an unfortunate mistake there for the 76 of Joshua Jones. That's gonna cost him some spots right there.
Absolutely, he came to a complete stop totally. He thought about backing up, but he most likely was going to be penalized for going the wrong direction here by the iRacing officials. So he goes around one more time. He's going to pit in this time by... He's going to... Man, he was peeling off way too late. But he finally makes it in this time by... with about, let's see, that's going to be 44 laps on his tires. And that's going to give the lead over to the 46 of Jim Whaley Jr. because everybody now, all the leaders are down pit road except for Jim Whaley.
Yeah, and it looks like Art Peck, Jeff Dotson, Charles Smith are still going to need to pit as well. Taking a look here, 37 laps. Noah Lewis should be able to make it the rest of the way. Fortunately, he is 3 laps down, so it'll be interesting to see how this is going to play out. As Jim Whaley Jr. is only 43 laps on his tires. So he might push it and try to go the full distance on a tank of fuel.
Oh yeah, but if that if that does work out, it does have one negative effect or negative consequence. That's gonna become, Dave. It's gonna come down to tires. If Jim Whaley is gonna be able to make it on just one pit stop, it's gonna come down to tires. It will be very, very loose. It will be nearly impossible to take these turns. It's gonna mean less speed in the turns in order for him to maintain the little traction that he's gonna have. And with that said, he most likely will hurt himself, or he will do more harm than good to himself, because they will end up getting around him and most likely put him a bunch of laps down before he knows it. But at this point, Dave is just hoping for a caution and getting the track position, because if caution comes out right now, he'll still be able to maintain the lead.
Yeah, I mean, with everybody else being at least one lap down, but here comes the 46 Jim Whaley Jr. breaking off, coming down pit road. So the leader down on pit road.
This is almost cycling out the final round of pit stops going on. Art Peck down pit road this time by Jeff Dotson. Still needs to pit in. Same as the 21 of Charles Smith. These two drivers having over 45 laps on their tanks this far. Going to be going down pit road here before too long. And this should pass the race lead over to the 14 of Jeremy Horn by the looks of it. Oh, actually, absolutely, Dave. Jeremy Horn is going to take over the race lead this time by. So Jeremy was able to get around the 75 of Robert Barris.
Yeah, and he's got the 75 Robert Burris less than 2 seconds behind him. Burris is riding on rails. He has got that thing down to the floor, hammering around this track. He was 2-point-something seconds. Now he's only 1.6, 1.5. So he is gaining on the 14 of Jeremy Horn.
And I'm backing up right now just to see exactly what happened. But Dave, Jeremy Horn and Robert Barris had some very, very different pit stops, I should say. Robert Barris had a over 20-second pit stop, while Jeremy Horn had 13-second pit stop. So which means that Robert Barris had a about 9-second pit stop more than Jeremy Horn did. And looking at both drivers' pit stops, they both took 4 tires with some gas. Well, 4 tires, but I guess they took different amount of gas. Basically, what that means is that Jeremy took less gas, while Robert most likely took a full tank.
Well, the only thing is 23 seconds. I mean, the average pit stop here is 13 to 15 seconds. So it makes me wonder if maybe the Robert Burris got a speeding penalty, had to sit in his pit stop for an extended amount of time.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it, Dave. Yeah, that speeding penalty would be 15 seconds. Yeah, so that pit stop would be way longer than that. But yeah, he most likely received some kind of penalty that was less than 15 seconds, if any. Or maybe it just comes down to what I talked about, the difference in fuel strategy, or how much gas they were taking during that round of pit stops. And looking at Chris in the chat there, he's 98 of Noah Lewis's crew chief. He says since he got his backup car used up, the car is now flying. He has finally found fifth gear. That's very good, Chris. Great job. And we now have 29 laps remaining with all pit stops now finally complete. The second round of pit stops has been completed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our second commercial break of the evening so you guys can get your last round of popcorn and refreshments. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Don't let your first date be your last. Visit People Against Distracted Driving at PADD.org.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Dre Broadcasting Network as we continue tonight's race, the Dover 125 for round 14 of the Roaring Thunder Racing League K&N Series. Well, going back to the race, we are under caution. It was caused by a very tight machine off the exit of turn 4, which is the 98 of Noah Lewis. He tried backing it down, tried braking, but that machine could not rotate, and that wall had its arms wide open, just claimed him, and it blew his motor on impact. Well, this caution, Dave, was much needed. I'm pretty sure everybody's happy. I'm happy to see this, so we can get everybody bunched back up and, you know, everybody racing again. But this is a bad thing for Jeremy Horn, Dave. It's a bad thing for Jeremy.
Yeah, it's going to put Robert Burris right there beside him on the restart. Joshua Jones, Jim Whaley right there. Also, Mark Gomez-Koshik is going to be back on the lead lap, sitting in 5th place.
Absolutely, and Mark McFadden right now. So we have Mark McFadden, Art Peck, Charles Smith, Rick Mason, including Jeff Dotson. These drivers are behind the pace car, gonna be getting 1 lap back. So let's see, Mark McFadden, including Art Peck, these 2 drivers are a lap down, so they'll be back on the lead lap as soon as the lights of the pace car turn off. Charles Smith, Rick Mason, including Jeff Dotson. Well, Charles Smith will be 1 lap down, Rick Mason will be back to 2 laps down, and Jeff Dotson back down to 3 laps down. So just looking forward to those lights turning off, and at this point we have less than 20 laps to go. Once we go green, we'll be having, I believe, 17 laps of green flag racing left. So once again, it is go time, and with how, if we don't go 1 to green this time by, we'll get a race interview in, just like requested in the chat. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get a race interview in. The lights on the pace car do turn off. We are back 1 to green. Wheel spin. Oh, not back 1 to green, but we are back 1 to green. And wheel spin on the 3 of Jeff Dotson. That was almost ugly right there. But going back to the leaders, the 14 of Jeremy Horn is behind the pace car on the inside with the help of 76 of Joshua Jones. On the outside, 75 of Robert Barris with 46 of Jim Whaley Jr. assisting him. Well, Dave, Jim Whaley Jr. is now finally behind his biggest opponent, or his biggest threat, his biggest nemesis from the last race we had, Myrtle Beach. So this could be very, very disastrous in terms of competition. It will be. We'll have a lot more side-by-side than ever before all race long.
Yeah, most definitely. So we've got, it's going to be an interesting start. It's going to be an interesting 17 laps, as we're going to have a 17-lap shootout to the checkered flag. As the pace car dips off, we are getting ready to go back green flag racing. The 14 of Jeremy Horn leading this restart. These guys go on green, so we are waiting for the green flag. Green flag out, off on the throttle they go. There goes Jeremy Horn, but look at Robert Burris on the outside as he's going to get the edge into turn number 1. Here comes Jeremy Horn on the inside. He is fighting back, but Burris is actually going to clear him on the outside coming out of turn number 1.
And now a battle for 3rd place, 76 of Joshua Jones, 46 of Jim Whaley Jr. go back single file, 46 of Whaley maintains the 3rd place spot, 76 of Joshua Jones. Let's make contact, holy cow! The 46 of Whaley backed it down on the exit of 4 because that bump did push his machine up the track. And Jones had to back it down despite all the momentum he was carrying. That would have been ugly. And right now Joshua trying his best to figure out a way to set up the 46 of Whaley, trying to get on the 14 of Jeremy Horn as well. And as we speak, the 75 of Robert Barris is pulling away.
Yeah, he is good off of those starts. He is now out to a 3/10 lead over Jeremy Horn. And these laps are ticking down. Only 15 laps to go, Sean.
Only 15 laps left. These guys, it is go time for them. Find 5th gear, 6th gear. Just get around your opponents. Get around them. Keep them behind you for the longest time. Make them enjoy the view of your tail light decals the best you can, and they will have no choice but to enjoy them. You get those 3D glasses out. The 78 of Art Peck right now being shown back in the pack so far. He is trying to hold off 48 of Mark McFadden for position number 6 because they're both 1 lap down. And I'm not sure what happened to Mark McFadden, but I believe he was one of the drivers I talked about who was 1 lap down before the green flag had flown. They're getting the wave around the pace car, so he was supposed to be back on the lead lap. but I guess I was not correct because he is still being shown one lap down here as we speak. Going back in front of them, 33 of Mark Gomez, Kochik right now behind the 76 of Joshua Jones, about that's going to be 0.8 of a second behind 76 of Joshua. He gets into the wall on the exit of turn 4. Right side damage on the 33 of Gomez, Kochik. He will try and gather it, gain all the speed he lost, the momentum he lost, and the time he lost the best he can. 12 laps left here so far, going back from Jeremy Horn, 0.3 behind the 75 of Robert Barris.
Yeah, looks like he's gaining on him a little bit here. He's now actually only 0.1 behind, so he's making up a little time. Jim Whaley Jr. doing a good job at holding off that hard charge of Joshua Jones back and forth, so I mean, anything could happen. Any one of these four have a chance of winning this race.
And speaking of Jim Whaley Jr., Jim Whaley had some bad luck early on in tonight's race. He was running in the back of the pack 4 to 10 seconds behind the leaders all race long. And this caution has bunched everybody up. And 14 of Horn and Barris know that they now have a lot more things to worry about than ever before here in tonight's race. Dover International Speedway for the Dover 125. And so far he is just pretty much playing with 14 of Jeremy Horn, trying to follow his line, trying to play the buddy system, Dave, so far trying to make it seem as though he's trying to work with Jeremy Horn to catch 75 of Robert Barris. But once that happens, they will betray each other.
Yeah, I mean, you can have friends, you can have teammates, but when it comes to getting that checkered flag, it's every man or woman for themselves.
Absolutely, gonna break those friendships, gonna break some hearts every now and then. Towards the end of the race, there's gonna be friends all race long, but once the white flag flies, once you hit the 5 to go mark, the things will always change. In 76 of Joshua Jones, Dave seems to be catching the 46 of Jim Whaley, but then keeps backing off. He most likely is trying to just back it up and get a run against 46 of Jim Whaley, but he drifts way too high there. Looks like he was carrying too much speed entering turn number 3. But off turn 4, he will be able to gain some time against 46 of Jim Whaley, who did back it down to be behind the 14 of Jeremy Horn on the exit of 4. Oh, look at that, Dave. Jeremy Horn has finally gained 0.2 of a second against 75 of Robert Barris. He is really filling up that machine, or that rearview mirror of 75 of Barris with the yellow paint scheme. And Barris knows any mistake he makes. 14 of Horn, Jim Whaley Jr., Joshua Jones will benefit from it and not lose any sleep over it.
Yeah, most definitely. Now coming on 5 laps to go. Next time across the stripe, it'll be 5 laps to go.
Yep, 5 laps to go this time. But if you haven't gone now, it is going to be way too late. Gonna find 5th gear now, or back it down. Nobody's gonna back it down. I was just kidding. The 14 of Jeremy Horn trying to make a move on the outside against 25 of Barris. He is trying to play some mind games against Barris, trying to see whether or not Barris is driving his rearview mirror so he can be able to make a mistake or mess him up. But so far, Barris is holding it nice and strong. Goes to his inside though. Barris was not did not defend his inside, and Horn is gonna be side by side with him on the exit of 2. But slingshot off turn 2 with 75 of Barris, but entering turn 3 still stays side by side with 46 of Jim Whaley Jr. trying to push 14 of Jeremy Horn past 75 of Barris. Oh, 14 of Horn was drifting way high. The machine did push that bad bump on the exit of 4. Almost pushed him up to the 75 of Robert Barris. And 14 of Horn did back it down to avoid causing trouble. And because of that, Barris will maintain the race lead.
But I don't think his battle's over, Sean.
No, it is not. And Dave in the 3rd place spot. Whaley lost a spot to the 76 of Joshua Jones. Joshua Jones 3rd place. Whaley down to 4th place. Catch 14 of Jeremy Horn. And Horn now back on the back bumper of 5 of Barris. Oh, Dave, white flag. Next time by.
Oh boy, who's going to win this? How's this going to end? Jeremy Horn still right there in position.
Oh, off turn 4, we have Joshua Jones into the wall. He lost all his speed, momentum, and position to the 46 of Jim Whaley Jr. But going back up front, 14 of Jeremy Horn doesn't seem to be close enough to make a difference in his spot unless 75 of Barris makes a mistake. But Barris hitting every mark as good as he can off turn 4. He's going to have a run on him. Not enough room to make it. Oh, he's going to come out 1, 2, 3. Robert Barris 1st, Jeremy Horn 2nd. and Jim Whaley Jr. in the 3rd place spot, Joshua Jones 4th, and Mark Gomez coaching in the 5th place spot, Art Peck 6th, Mark McFadden 7th, Charles Smith 8th, Rick Mason 9th, Jeff Dotson 10th, and Noah Lewis in the 11th place spot, and that rounds up the whole entire field tonight. 11 drivers. Holy cow, what a race. And this gives win number 6 to Robert Barras. Well, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be interviewing the top 3 drivers: Robert Barras, Jeremy Horn, and Jim Whaley Jr. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are being joined up in the Dre Broadcasting booth by 75 Robert Barras, 6th win, Jeremy Horn 2nd, and Jim Whaley Jr. in the 3rd place spot, rounding up the podium finishes. We'll start with tonight's race winner, who won last race as well at Myrtle Beach Speedway. That's 75 Robert Barras. You got a cup there, Robert?
I got you.
How you doing tonight?
I'm wore out. Finally caught my breath. That was Jeremy definitely gave me a good run there. That was a heck of a glass run there. Glass.
Oh, absolutely. Looks like a blast indeed from up here as well. And tonight, Robert, you started in the lead and ended up executing some excellent pit stops and was able to just pretty much stay consistent. And tell us about the tire wear out there, because it seemed as though you were not falling off as quickly as we thought you would.
Yeah, the first run, I had a pretty decent amount of wear. I started getting tight there. Joshua got around me, and then I was able to get back by him and start to open up a little bit. The second run, through that cycle of pit stops, I think I had like a 4-second or so lead, so I was able to kind of just run my own pace and save the tires. And then for that last pit stop, I used real timing to do all my pit strategy and tell me how much fuel to take. And usually when you fill the car up, it has a little spot on there that it'll go from red to green to tell you that you're good, and it didn't. So I thought the car hadn't taken any fuel, so I had to toggle it to make sure it was full, and it still stayed red. So I realized it was full and took off, and that cost me about 8 seconds or so, and I could get back up to Jeremy, but I don't think he could have. Track position seemed to be pretty important. There was a couple times there I was able to hold him off on the high side. But otherwise, yeah, I think it was just kind of all track position. That final restart, I was just able to get him clear there with good, get through the gears good, and then just trying to hold on.
Oh, copy that. And Robert, I'm glad you clarified the thing about the second pit stop you guys had, because we were wondering about that. Because we compared your pit stop to the one of Jeremy Horn, and like you said, you were 8 seconds slower than he was off pit road. He had a 13.3 second pit stop compared to you, who had a 23.3-second pit stop. So wondering exactly why, but that does make a lot of sense. But despite that, you were still able to catch up to him, and was able, once that caution came out, you guys you had a very good restart and was able to get around him. But then that did change things, and you were able to win this race, giving you a 6th win of the season. Very, very impressive. And how are you feeling going into next week's race, or next race at Atlanta?
Oh, I love Atlanta. It's a cheese grater on tires, so you've got to be ready to go, ready to save tires, but get fast. I think probably tonight, Jeremy locked up the championship, so congratulations to him on that, if that's true. So we're just going to go to Atlanta, and we'll try to finish the season out here with another win.
Oh, copy that. And speaking of Jeremy Horn, starting tonight's race, you guys were 59 seconds apart in the point standings, and with your win tonight, you guys are that's gonna narrow it down a little bit by talking about how you might win the season. He might have it locked already, starting with tonight's race. After tonight's race, that's gonna make things very interesting. But despite that, you have Jim Whaley right behind you. You had him only 10 points behind you, starting tonight's race. Do you think you have what it takes to keep him behind you for next week's race?
Oh, we're gonna find out. Jim's fast. Joshua's fast. I mean, there's a bunch of fast guys in here. You have to tune in next week to find out. I spotted these guys 2 races at the start of the season, joining in the league late, and then another third race. So I'm kind of not on equal footing with them, but we'll see. We're just gonna show up to Atlanta and try to be fast, lead all the laps, and bring home a win.
Oh, 10-4, brother. Well, congratulations once again on your 6th win, your 10th top 5, and your 10th top 10. Any final words before we let you go?
Just thanks to Jeff and everybody who kind of coordinates things for the league here, for you guys to put this on the broadcast. Hopefully we put on a good show for everybody, especially those last 20 or so laps. And just everybody who comes out and races. It's good, clean, hard, fun racing. Seems like a really good group of guys. So that's why I kind of joined up and gave it a shot, and I've stuck around.
Well, Robert, congratulations on your success here tonight and last week at Myrtle Beach. We look forward to hearing from you after next week's race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Have a good night, buddy. Go celebrate.
You too. Thank you.
And that was tonight's race winner, Robert Barras. Right behind him is our current point standings. Most likely going to be the champion this season by the sounds of it, Jeremy Horn. Get a cup there, Jeremy.
Yeah, I got you.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Glad to have a better race this weekend than I did 2 weekends ago at Myrtle Beach.
Oh, absolutely. Going from 8th place with the 8th place finish at Myrtle Beach to a 2nd place finish this week at Dover International. Tell us about your race. Tell us about your race, buddy.
The race was good. Just tried to save tires all night long because on the concrete surface at Dover just kills tires. So I try to just save tires and kind of stick to the back, hang back. And I was trying to keep pace and time with Robert there and Josh, but it all went out pretty well. Robert had it going away if we hadn't had that last caution and some issues on pit road there, but it was a pretty good race.
Oh, 10-4. And Jeremy, talk to us about how we noticed at one point there in the first long run before the first round of green flag pit stops, you were gaining on Robert Barras you were shaving a lot of seconds against his lead every single lap. But all of a sudden, you ended up you started losing time every now and then against Robert. Was it you just pretty much backing down, trying to just think about your strategy, or maybe you lost tires?
Yeah, I was catching Robert there toward the end of the first run. I could tell he shot out like a madman there and kind of burned his tires off. And I knew I wasn't going to catch him for the first pit stop, so I just kind of backed down a little bit, trying to keep some good, consistent laps, getting a rhythm, and it all worked out pretty well there.
Oh, copy that. Absolutely. It was an amazing job on your part. And man, once again, congratulations on being a leader in points for the longest time possible. And most likely being crowned the new champion this season. I want to congratulate you on that. Having 1 win, 10 top 5s, or your 11th top 5, and 13 top 10s. Very, very impressive. And those consistent finishes have definitely paid off. And rethinking about tonight's race, when you think about it, do you think you could have done anything differently to better your chances?
Well, on that last restart, Robert he beat me. He caught me sleeping there on the start, and there with about 4 or 5 to go, I'd got a good run underneath him because he kind of wore his tires off again, and track position was just so important. And coming out of 4, we got real close, and I had to let off. And if I could have kept that up and maybe got on the throttle a little bit later in the middle of 3 and 4, I might have been able to clear him without letting off and messing up Jim's run that he had there, and might have been able to get him down into 1 and 2, but it was just so hard on that inside off of 4 all night long.
Oh, copy that, most definitely. And Jeremy, where do you see yourself at the end of the final race of the season, Atlanta?
I like Atlanta. I like that Atlanta has a lot of options, especially with this K&N car. Keeping momentum is going to be key. Always find it to be a fun track, especially if you can get a long green flag run going on. And, hopefully come out on top, the champion next week. I think after this finish, I think it's almost set in stone. As long as I start, I'll be all right. But just looking forward to getting up there with no pressure of the points and racing Jim and Josh and Robert and all those guys and CB up front.
Oh, 10-4, brother. Congratulations on your success here tonight, Jeremy. We look forward to seeing you and hearing from you after next week's race or at that race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Any final words before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Jeff, CB, and Gomez and everybody who puts us on here at RTRL. Like Robert was saying, it's a great group of guys to race with, and we all race clean and hard. And just like to thank everybody that lets me do this, my wife for letting me spend all the time doing this, and my son. And thank you guys for hopping on board and broadcasting with us. You've been doing a great job.
Well, congratulations once again on your success here, Jeremy. And look forward to seeing you again and hearing from you at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Have a good night, buddy, and go celebrate. You earned it.
Thank you. You too.
And that was tonight's race, tonight's second place finisher, the 14 of Jeremy Horn, our current point standings and soon to be crowned champion. And next in line is a driver who was the biggest opponent to Robert Barris last race at Myrtle Beach and finished second, Jim Whaley Jr. Get a copy there, Jim? Get a copy?
Yeah, I do.
How you doing tonight?
Not too bad.
Well, Jim, tonight all race long in the very beginning, kept a low profile, had some bad luck, right front damage on that machine. Did see it seemed to be affecting the rotation of your machine, but despite that, your race was turned around towards the very end, and you were able to give those drivers up front a run for their money. But tell us about your race tonight.
Yeah, I struggled real bad. It was tight everywhere, and I blasted the wall, and I just tried to keep pace and didn't lose too much, and crew did a good job knocking everything back out. And I got back out there, and then at the end, I had a good shot on the outside. Then Robert and Jeremy got in line, and I was all over them, but I had to pedal it so hard to keep it down there and not get into them. And then Jeremy got a little bit of a push out there and had to get out of it, and I got into him a little bit, but I didn't want to wreck him, so I backed out, and Josh got by, and that would have been it had Josh not got into the outside wall. So honestly, that third that's the only reason that happened.
Oh, copy that, yeah. One man's mistake is another man's... I don't know what word to replace with that one, but basically, you were able to benefit off that mistake you made off turn 4. Yeah, that bump off turn 4 has claimed a lot of drivers, and tonight, Jim, you happened to not be one of those drivers. Very, very impressive on your part. And when it comes to the tightness of the machine tonight, do you think it was maybe just the setup or the high track temp?
No, it was the setup. I drive very, 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 very loose cars, so it was really bad even turning in for me. So I had to struggle, and I had my brakes down as far as I could get them to help a little bit, and even that didn't help. It was really, really, really tight. So we missed it tonight.
Oh, copy that. Very sorry to hear about your misfortune there with the setup and handling of the machine all race long. And Jim, when yourself with your pit stop, the first one, you decided to stay out there, lead some laps, and ended up staying out a little bit longer than everybody else. Thinking about it now, do you think that was the best strategy against them?
If it would have went green with no yellow, possibly, because the way I had it strategized out is that I would be fine on fuel if I ran all the way out. If I would have took a couple laps off here or a lap off there between stops, I may have been 2 laps, 3 laps short. So it was all based on the fuel mileage that I was getting. I would have been good to make it all the way.
Oh, copy that. Yeah, that caution, it caught a lot. It was a good thing for some drivers, but by the sounds of it, not so good for others up there. And yeah, very sorry that the caution interrupted with your pit strategy out there. And going to next race, Jim, once again, you are very, very close in points against the 75 of Robert Barris. How are you feeling going to next week's race, knowing that you have a chance at coming out second?
Atlanta tears up tires. I'm excellent at saving tires, so I'll stink pretty good in the beginning of the runs, but I guarantee I'll be there at the end.
Oh, copy that. That's exactly what we like to hear, and that does give us something to look forward to. Well, but any final words before we let you go?
I want to give a shout out to both my kids, Trevor and Zach. They're watching right now. Sorry I couldn't bring it home, but hey, at least I didn't wreck.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations once again on your second podium finish right here at Dover International tonight for round 14 of the Roaring Thunder Racing League Series. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you live on Max Speed TV at Atlanta Motor Speedway next week. Have a good night, buddy. Go celebrate.
Thanks.
And that was Jim Whaley Jr. That rounds up the top 3 interviews. 75 Robert Barras, Jeremy Horn, and Jim Whaley Jr. 1 through 3, respectively. And this was the Dover 125, round 14 of the Roaring Thunder Racing League K&N Series. Well, Dave, it was an amazing race. 1 caution, green flag pit stops, so much side by side, not so many drivers claimed by the track, and pretty much everybody was able to spank this track despite its arms wide open, ready to take them out at any time. Any thoughts there, Dave?
Oh, what a great race. I mean, only 1 caution at Dover. These guys put on a heck of a show. Great battle there at the end. Couldn't ask for anything better, Sean.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning into the Dre Broadcasting Network. If you are new to Dre Broadcasting, welcome to the Dre Broadcasting Network. If you're not new, welcome back to the Dre Broadcasting Network. We can never thank you guys enough for being a part of us. Looking at the chat there, Chris, thank you for tuning in. And look forward to seeing Noah Lewis on the track again next week on Max Speed TV. You should be a crew chief with him again because you did an amazing job with him tonight. And Timothy, again, thank you for tuning in. We saw Joe White early on here in tonight's race. And without you guys, we are nothing. We can never thank you guys enough. Well, once again, our next race will be at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the final race of the season, broadcast live on Max Speed TV. That's going to be September 23rd, which is next week. So the Atlanta 200. If you guys would like to check that out, that's going to be the season finale of the Roaring Thunder Racing League K&N Series. So guys, be a part of that and go support the new to be champion, or new to be crowned champion. So it can be an amazing race as well.
Which the champion has already been crowned because he's already clinched the title.
Oh, copy that. That is league owner here and admin Jeff Dotson. He up in the Dre Broadcasting booth with us. So the champion is the 14 of Jeremy Horn. Holy cow!
Yep. Jeremy clinched the points championship tonight. There, we've done the math. There's no way nobody can get him next week at Atlanta.
Oh, copy that. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we want to congratulate our new champion, the 14 of Jeremy Horn. So now the battle is going to be all the way down from 2nd place down to about 17th place in points, racing amongst each other. So far the closest drivers in points will be Robert.
Second place is clinched too.
Oh, copy that. Because I assume since they were 20 points apart.
I'm pretty sure don't get me wrong, and don't quote me on this, guys. But the way we've done it, first and second's clinched, but 3rd and 4th still have a possibility. And then 5th place is clinched because there's an 84-point gap between 5th and 6th, because the top 6 guys at the end of the season will get a small payout. So for that, I know 6th place is clinched, I'm pretty sure, and so is 5th. So the battle right now is 3rd and 4th.
Oh, copy that. 3rd and 4th, that's Jim Whaley Jr. and Charles Smith. So keep an eye on these 2 drivers, the final race of the season on Max Speed TV next week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I am Sean Zulu and David Everly behind the cameras, and the next broadcast is tomorrow night with the Precision Racing, the American iRacing Sunday series on the iRacing portal as well. So look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for tuning in to the Dre Broadcasting Network. Have a good night and see you there.